Welcome to Land of the Bible. I'm David Sussman, your personal tour guide here in the land of Israel. Join us today as we head to the northern part of Israel in order to learn more about the Talmudic era in the Galilee. A tragic thing happens to the Jewish people in the 2nd century CE. The Romans, who were occupying our land, went so far as to forbid us from studying our ancient texts and from even speaking words of Torah. As a result, common folk like myself became scared to discuss our ancient ways with our children and grandchildren. This is why Rabbi Yehuda Nasi and the other great rabbis of the day convened in cities like Tiberias and Sipori in order to discuss the oral Torah and put it down on that piece of parchment, which would be known as the Mishnah, so that people could learn it on the run. Let's now travel through the Galilee and learn more about the Talmudic era. Beit Sha'arim has been turned into a national park, and not so much for the incredible ruins that date back to the 1st and 2nd century CE, but due to the fact that they have found elaborate tombs here, graves, sarcophagi that date back to that time period. This is amazing. The people of Beit Sha'arim dug out these massive caverns into the hillside. Inside, they would bury their dead in sarcophagi. Now, a sarcophagus is like a coffin, but a coffin is buried in the ground, whereas a sarcophagi can either be placed above ground or in a cave, as we see here in Beit Sha'arim. The dead would literally be placed inside the box. Now, depending on how much money you had, would depend on how elaborate that the stone carvings would be on your sarcophagus. Here we can see that this must have been a very wealthy man. He has a beautiful sarcophagi, but he also has a menorah that was carved out and placed next to the sarcophagus. Let's walk around and see some of the beautiful sarcophagi here in Beit Sha'arim. Beit Sha'arim became a very popular place to be buried in after the death of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, who I mentioned earlier is accredited with writing the oral Torah down on a piece of parchment, which became known as the Mishnah and the beginning of the Talmudic period. He decided to be buried here even though he died in Sipori, which we'll visit later on. Once he's buried here, Jews from around Israel, as well as in the diaspora outside of Israel, wanted to be buried here in order to take their final rest alongside this important rabbi. Now these aren't stairs. What I'm standing on right now are actually benches that are located right on top of the grave of the great rabbi. And why? Well, there's an idea in Judaism that on the anniversary of one's death, that a spiritual energy connects the heavens to the earth where the body lies. So in Judaism, we come to the grave, we'll light a candle known as the Yortzeit candle, we'll pray, and we'll learn in the merit of the deceased so that their soul in heaven should have an elevation. It's remarkable to see all of these benches here above the grave of this righteous rabbi, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, as people come here to learn and pray and elevate his soul. Let's continue as we learn more about the Talmudic period.
There are moments in life that define you and leave you forever transformed. Like a once-in-a-lifetime journey to the source of your faith. Walk in the steps of Jesus and experience history beyond its words. Sail the ancient Sea of Galilee to the holy shores of the River Jordan. Your journey begins here.
In the middle of the Galilee, nestled between valleys, streams, and springs, is the National Park of Tzipori. Tzipori is an ancient Galilean town, first mentioned during the reign of Alexander Yonai during the Hashmonean period after the story of Hanukkah, roughly 100 BCE. The kingdom of Herod will be divided up between his three sons. This area is given over to his son, Herod Antipas, who will build his capital right here in Tzipori. This new Tzipori, which will be constructed by Herod Antipater, and later on by the Romans, is now known as Dio Caesarea. It's still the capital of the Galilee. However, it goes through a Renaissance period of abundant wealth. And the city will be constructed like a typical Roman city, with two major thoroughfares bisecting the city. One going east to west, known as the Decumanus, the street I'm walking on now, and the other one, the Cardo. And the Cardo will go north to south. And right at the intersection, you would have this big forum area with all the shopping and commercial district, and of course the temple to the deity that they'll be worshiping in any particular city. Here in Tzipori, their main god was Zeus. It's just amazing to walk down the Cardo here in Tzipori and see the divots in the road that were caused by carriages that rode here hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And then to arrive here to the eastern side of the Cardo and to see one of the monumental buildings, most likely one of the municipality buildings here during the Roman period. The incredible, intricate mosaics, the centaur, this Greek mythological beast, half horse, half man, and of course the mosaic you can see behind me. It depicts the Nile celebration that happened every year in Egypt, When the Nile would flood, it meant to the farmers that they were going to have the proper irrigation to create a bountiful harvest. You could see the Nile meter showing the height of the Nile River itself. You could see beasts attacking other beasts, the lighthouse, the gates of the city, everything that would have taken place in Egypt. The artist most likely came from there. And in order to create such an intricate, beautiful mosaic carpet, he used 180 stones every square 4 inches with 18 different shades of stone. Unbelievable. To the west of the Cardo, on the upper hill, archaeologists discovered a massive Roman villa with several rooms that was built by an extremely wealthy Roman citizen. In the middle of the villa is one of the nicest mosaic carpets found anywhere in Israel, depicting the life and times of the Roman god of wine, Dionysus. But the most impressive part of this mosaic is what is referred to as the Mona Lisa of the Galilee. An intricate, almost like a photograph of a woman's face. Maybe the single most impressive mosaic anywhere in Israel. Let's now head to the synagogue and learn about how Tzipori returned to Jewish rule. Sometime in the late 2nd century CE, the pagans who were ruling the city of Tzipori lost their power, and it was returned to the Jewish people. Soon after this, Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, who we spoke about earlier, decided to move here to the city. He built for himself a grand villa and invited rabbis from around the country to join him here in Tzipori. There were many houses of study, and we know that there was around 18 synagogues here at the time. So the Jewish community must have been quite large. However, in the 4th century CE, we know that the Christian influence also infiltrated this area, and we do have churches in Tzipori at the time. So just imagine this. In the 6th century CE, you had a large Jewish community here, a Christian community here, as well as a pagan community living in the same city. Now, the mosaics you can see behind me belong to a synagogue that was constructed in the 5th century CE. The mosaic depicts several biblical scenes, such as the binding of Isaac, where Abraham is commanded by God to bring his most beloved son, Isaac, to Mount Moriah, which is in Jerusalem, to give him as an offering to God. There are scenes from the temple, the menorah, the showbreads, even the entranceway to the temple itself. However, there's one peculiar mosaic. It's the largest one, right in the middle of the rest of them. It's a zodiac, and in the middle, you have the chariot and horses of the false sun god Helios. So why in the middle of a Jewish synagogue would you have the chariot and horses of a false god? Well, imagine this. It's the middle of the 5th century when the synagogue was constructed. Tzipori was made up of a Jewish community, a pagan community, and a Christian community. Both the Christians and the pagans had used the symbol of the zodiac as a decorative piece for a long time. And so the Jews living here amongst them also adopted it as a decorative piece. However, not wanting to depict a pagan god, especially in the middle of their synagogue, they removed the image of Helios, but still kept the zodiac. Let's now continue as we learn more about the Talmudic period.
There are moments in life that define you and leave you forever transformed. Like a once-in-a-lifetime journey to the source of your faith. Walk in the steps of Jesus and experience history beyond its words. Sail the ancient Sea of Galilee to the holy shores of the River Jordan. Your journey begins here.
We're now at Kfar Kedem, which is a Mishnaic village, to learn more about what the Mishnah actually says.
Wow, David,
Hey Menachem,
big privilege to see you here.
how are you? Thanks for having us at your Mishnaic village.
Thanks God, yeah.
So tell us, what's behind the vision of opening up this place?
First of all, if you want to hear about the Mishnah village, you need to look like somebody that came through the Mishnah here. It means
Somebody like you.
Yeah, come
Yeah.
on. Yeah, I'm all the way here. It's something like 1800 years ago.
Wow.
But first of all, we need to have the outfits.
Okay.
You look one of the Jews here 2,000 years back. And if the Jews had
So what do you
selfie,
think? I look like I'm from 2,000 years ago?
we need to take a selfie like 2,000 years back.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's my 2,000-year-old iPhone. Menachem, now you've got me in this 1,800-year-old Mishnaic garb. Tell us, what was the vision behind building this incredible place?
You know, I ask myself why I'm living here, why people all around the world came and said we want to visit Israel. What's the real connection? And the connection you cannot find in the Bible. Because the Bible says, okay, God promised the Jews the land and this is your land. But how to be a Jew? What's the real connection? What made the campus back to Israel can be like a nation? The only answers you can find, it's only the Mishnah, Bar Mitzvah, you cannot find in the Torah. All those details you can find only in the Mishnah, and the Mishnah shows us the way back to Israel. This is the reason why we are living here. Follow me, and I'm going to show you exactly
All right.
what we are doing.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's amazing. You think about people, Jews, 3,000 years ago, they need to, for example, to plow their land, their field, and they can do it faster. And something stops them and said, oh, you are not allowed to put two different animals on the same yoke. Why? Because maybe you heard the left shoulder of your poor donkey. It means somebody more than 3,000 years ago thought about the left shoulder of the poor donkey.
Why
Maybe,
the left shoulder?
because if you put the yoke, both, and the ox is powers and stronger than the donkey, he's going to hurt his shoulder. It's amazing. You know, it's a lesson of believing Hashem, because who will think about those animals even today? Think about a nation lived here in those hills more than 2,000, 3,000 years ago and thought about how to take care about the animal. For example, you need to eat, but before you eat, you need to give to your animal to eat. It's from the Bible.
Wow.
And yeah, and you stop everything. First of all, give to your animal to eat. And after a while, think about the ox or the donkeys that working in the threshing floor, and everybody muzzle him, and because you're a Jew and you are, according to Judaism, you are not allowed to muzzle him because maybe you pain him, you give him to suffer. Which part of his body? I didn't understand it. And when you think about this, the only part of his body you can abuse when you muzzle him, that he cannot eat the wheat or the bodies that he is threshing, it's only his mind.
So animal rights basically stems from the Bible.
I think we need to speak about this with a nice herbal teaser.
Sounds great. All right, let's go, Menachem. Menachem, what does the Mishnah say how we're supposed to treat our fellow man?
It's amazing point, because you know people today in the modern world speak about animal rights, but they forgot the human rights. And human rights is amazing because you know now you can be rich, in another 2 days you can be very poor. And the Mishnah take care, explain us what's really the Bible said about, for example, that the corner of the street belong to the poor people, to the widow, to the orphans, to the stranger. And you know, think about the 6 years. After 6 years, you need to give a rest, you know, to all your field, and strangers can come to your field and take what they want from the trees, from the field, what you get, you know. Who can allow to stranger today to come to his property?
Doesn't seem normal.
And we know that they really behave like this.
What about Shabbat, the Sabbath?
Shabbat, it's amazing idea, because Shabbat, what you're doing, you deal with the most important values idea for you. your kids, your family.
And so all of this love and all of this humanity, animal rights, all this richness, that the framework of the Torah, the depth of it really comes from the Mishnah. And so here at Kfar Kedem, you're trying just to give a small taste of the richness of the Mishnah to people who are coming here who might have very little of it.
Yeah, I know that when people left this place, they are not the same people that came here, because they have another point of view about what it means to be Jew, what it means to be Israeli, even what it means to be Christian. From everything starts according to their religion. Because when you...
So all these groups that come here, the Jewish groups and the Christian groups and the Bar Mitzvah groups, what do you offer them?
I offer them to make the bread, to be a shepherd, to thresh about the grapes and have a grapes juice, to take their olives and thresh them and made olive oil, you know, like all those rooms that you can see here, you can have hands-on and made activities and have donkey ride.
Donkey rides.
Yeah, this is the first 4x4 vehicle.
The 4x4 vehicle. That's great. Well, thank you for joining us on Land of the Bible, Menachem. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Stay tuned as we continue.
There are moments in life that define you and leave you forever transformed. Like a once-in-a-lifetime journey to the source of your faith. Walk in the steps of Jesus and experience history beyond its words. Sail the ancient Sea of Galilee to the holy shores of the River Jordan. Your journey begins here.
A great way to round off a day learning about the Talmud here in the Galilee is to stay at the Tzipori village. The owner, Mitch Pilsner, has built 4 cottages, and this replica of the Crusader fortress that can be found in the National Park of Tzipori, which is just across the valley. The entire village can accommodate up to 40 guests, and it features a pomegranate orchard where you can pick fresh pomegranates right from the tree. Or if you want, you can sample some of the olive oil produced right here from the olive grove that consists of over 500 trees. There are also vineyards, a playground for children, a freshwater pool that is filtered using a series of plants and waterfalls. However, the most epic part of the village is that while they were constructing the replica of the Crusader fortress, they discovered this tomb. And written on the door, it says, "Here lies Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, who was one of the righteous sages who lived in Tzipori 1700 years ago and is accredited with writing the last chapter of Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Forefathers, which is found in the Mishnah itself." Now come with me as we pick some of the pomegranates. During the Talmudic period, our ancestors who lived here in the Galilee had vineyards and olive groves. In fact, some of the olive groves here today date back hundreds of years. But they were also shepherds. Let's meet a modern-day shepherd who lives in a moshav here in the Galilee that's named after the ancient city, Tzipori. Tal, thanks so much for joining us.
Welcome.
So tell us, how does a man from Texas end up here in Israel?
Well, my wife and I, after being married for about a year, decided that the right thing to do was to come back to the land of Israel. We, as Jews, felt like this is the place where our forefathers were, and we felt like this is where the Jewish people belong, and we would build our lives here. And so we were able to start our lives here, and in 1985 we moved to this farm community, and we built Son El farm.
Why Tzonel? Why the name?
Well, the Son being flock and El being God, so the flock of God, it seemed appropriate to us. Plus, We just felt like everything we were doing was kind of a step of faith, trying to come here and try to build something.
That's incredible.
And we're hoping to make it a generational farm for our children.
And what do you produce here?
We have a dairy farm. So we're producing goat milk. And then in 1997, I started a dairy here, and we produce yogurts and cheeses and things like that.
Join us next time on Land of the Bible as we go on an adventure of a lifetime. We are going to discover Israel's tallest mountain, Mount Hermon. Thank you for watching Land of the Bible. Remember, I'm David Sussman, your personal tour guide here in the land of Israel. Make sure to join us next time as we connect you to the people, places, and lands of the Bible.